Madam Web. We
Yeah,
spoke
it's
about
bad. It's bad.
we spoke about watching it, and we were like, all right, it landed on Netflix. Why not watch it? We didn't watch it in theaters because it looked bad. I posed a question like, it might not be as bad. You have spoiled your answer without me leading to the question. I guess yes, it's bad. I thought it was great.
Excuse me, sorry.
I
uh,
think that
that's how
really
I
worked
feel
out.
about this movie.
I think that worked out. No,
It makes me sneeze.
I did not think it was great. I think it was pretty bad from the beginning. It was really bad. Um, yeah, from the get go, you start off in the Amazon with Madam Web's Madam Web. What the hell is her name? Carly.
Madam Web.
Madam Web's character's name, Cassandra, Cassie. Yeah,
Mhm.
Cassandra. Start off with a flashback of her mom, and right off the get go, did you catch the dubbing or like the ADR that they had to do for this film at all?
Man, I haven't caught that part. To be honest, I was just so zoned out to this whole movie because it was so boring. No, but then the plot. I mean, just to, I know I shit on this movie, but it did have a great plot. It had a great story arc where the kids when they practice CPR, they did the same thing. They did the CPR. I'm just kidding.
They brought it
This was
back.
this movie was horrible.
I'm like,
This movie was horrible.
yeah, you had me worried for a sec because I'm like, yeah, you can have this opinion all you want, but the example that you're giving does not. Yeah, I mean, at least they did bring back the CPR.
Yeah, but I didn't catch the 80R in this one. Like I didn't catch it
Yeah,
because
so
you're just so. I mean, and this is also like just a little side note. This is why I do prefer watching movies in the theaters because it kind of prevents me from distractions. So
that's
like
what I was gonna
I'm kind of
say. Yeah,
even as bad as this movie is, I would have paid attention to a lot of things. I probably would have caught that. But given the fact that I'm at home, I just probably looked at my phone a couple of times. I did watch this movie. I did go through this movie like 3 or 4 times because I just
wow.
didn't catch everything because I was so bored. And Netflix probably thinks I love this movie. It's like, man, they don't
That's what
really
I
love
was
this
thinking.
Madam
I'm
Web.
like, I really hope that this does not up my algorithm on Netflix. Like more of this. I'm like, no, please don't.
Thumbs
Although,
down.
yeah, it might help us out, or it might help out the podcast since we're gonna be reviewing a few more of these films in the future. But more on that later. For now,
Mm.
Madam Web. But yeah, as soon as we're introduced to Ezekiel and Cassie's mom, I notice I'm like, it sounds off. Like Ezekiel sounded off, and then that's when I caught it like immediately where I'm like, hey wait, this motherfucker's not even talking. He's in the background. He's like, I've been looking for this spider, blah blah blah. But he's like, so I'm like, oh okay, this is what we're in for, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was it, by all means, it was a bad movie. But
It
I
was
think
bad
it,
and boring.
yeah, it was.
It wasn't a
I
good
mean,
bad.
it had a few moments that had me laughing unintentionally. We'll get more on that like later because I did jot some of them down where I'm like, oh my god.
Mhm.
So it this for me is borderline so bad it's good kind of movie. Not that it's
Mhm.
good, but it's like just to I guess like laugh unintentionally, like I like ironically laugh at it, because that's I think that's why it had like a resurgence on Netflix. So it did bomb on when it hit theaters. I think it was like the second Marvel movie to like not reach the top of the charts upon release. The first one
Uh,
being X Men Dark Phoenix, and we know how bad that one was. But yeah, this one wasn't. It didn't even chart. That's how bad it was. But then it landed on Netflix fairly quickly. I think maybe a month or two, and I think that's a strategy that they're starting to like um, unleash or whatever. Just because, like, all right, well, it's still fresh in people's minds. Let it go out there and let people explore it. And I think they did that with Madam Web. Um, Not to say it's good, but people just wanted to check it out, like us masochists here. It's like, oh, this movie is bad. Let's check out why. And yeah, it's this movie had a whole lot wrong to it, like a wrong
Yeah,
about it. Um, so yeah, the
bad.
cons.
I I like I said, I didn't know about the bad dubbing,
Mhm.
but it also had the action scenes looked horrible. It was like a low budget TV show almost. It just I don't understand how it's a Sony. It's from Sony, right? Because
Yes, yes, it's
they're,
Sony.
they're they're in
It's
charge of like the Venom, your Morbiuses and stuff like that. So like I don't know how would that. I'm guessing Sony would have a bigger budget, but it just this the action scenes look so horrible.
yeah. I have no idea what was going on behind the scenes with that. Because yeah, I agree. The few action scenes that they had, because they didn't even have a lot, which is just a whole thing onto itself. But
Mm.
yeah, they were like, oh, okay, maybe that's kind of like what they were going for. Like, all right, this movie's already bad. Sony, stop
Yeah,
trying to make a Spider Verse happen without Spider Man. That's been my impression since they announced Madam Web was coming out. Like, how are you gonna have Madam Web movie without Spider Man attached to it? How are you gonna call it the Spider Verse, like Sony's Spider Man universe without Spider Man like in it? And you could tell this movie at least had the idea of we're gonna connect it somehow to MCU Spider Man because that's what it takes place in 2003. They're trying to like connect it to like somehow connect it to Tom Holland's Spider Man, and that's more or less. I think they had the timeline wrong at one point, but that's just doing way too much homework than this deserves. Honestly, yeah, it's just stop trying to make a Spider Verse happen without Spider Man. I don't know. Uh, it's just terrible. It's just a bad film. The Dakota I know it's Dakota, but Dakota Johnson. I was
Dakota
gonna
Fanning.
say yeah,
Oh, Dakota,
exactly,
Dakota Fanning. Sorry.
exactly. I knew that was wrong. I knew that was wrong. That's why I didn't say it. I'm like
She's a
it's not
good actor.
Fanning.
Dakota Fanning is.
Yeah, Dakota
She's
Fanning
a
is
great
Dakota
actress.
Johnson. She just like phoned this in. A lot of it, like in I don't know if like it's right to blame
She
her
didn't
or to blame the
emote
direction, but
any
yeah,
of her
it's
lines though. She was like, when they're arguing in the taxi, she was like, "Your argument is drilling into my head," and I'm just like,
yeah,
"You don't sound annoyed." It's just like everything is so monotone from you. It
yeah,
just I don't know. It's just like you need to learn to emote a little bit, and just I don't know. Everything was just so bland. About this is the most blandest of any superhero. I mean, it could be. God, it was so boring.
yeah.
So boring.
It's funny that like they mentioned it because like again in the introduction, she is an EMT, an ambulance driver, and she's driving, and then Ben is who were obviously Uncle Ben. He is in the back saving the one person's life in the ambulance, and she's driving like, Ben, what are you doing? Like, what the do you think he's doing back there? It's just me nitpicking, but it's just like, um,
I mean, you
as soon
have
as
to
the
nitpick at this
as soon as
movie
the
too.
movie began and I saw like oh okay, so this is how bad the dubbing is and all that stuff. Like they just whatever. I'm like, all right, well let's be a little bit nitpicky. And then yeah, so like the acting was terrible, the writing was pretty bad. Uh, did you have any expectations going in to this film
I
at all?
knew, I knew it was bad,
Hmm.
just by like how the temperature of like the internet was. Just it, I knew it was bad. Um, I didn't catch Morbius,
Yeah, same here. Not
so I
haven't
don't
not
know.
caught
Like
it yet.
I, I try not to go with too many expectations, just in general, just because I just want to, just watch the movie for what it is.
Hmm.
But yeah, even that doing that didn't help this movie at all because it was horrible. I mean, what it was yeah. I don't know, man. It was just so boring, and I had to watch it like 3 or 4 times to be like, wait, why did that happen? I'm just like, God, I can never get to like halfway to the point without me fully concentrating on the movie because it was just so boring. It just in this I was one one of those movies. It's just like God, just end it already. It's just like
It
it's
was
just like
two
I just
hours
want to.
too. It was two
Yeah,
fucking hours.
and it might have been four because I just could not
I mean, for you it
figure
was
out when
six. If
this
you
movie was
watched
gonna
it
end.
3 times, it was 6. I don't know if I could put myself through that. I would have just gone
Well, yeah, that's
like I try to
uh,
watch it, Daniel. I try to watch it. Couldn't get into it. This is what I watched. I watched it one time. Could not. That's my review. That's what I would
yeah.
have done. I don't know if I could put myself through 3 times um, of this film because yeah, I mean I don't think it was as boring as as you did, but again I found it ironically funny. Like the one line, I even wrote it down because I freaking laughed along with another scene that I'm going to talk about. But the first one was again, I think I made this reference in one of our other reviews, but it's like something from Timu or Wish.
Yeah.
The with great power comes great responsibility
Yeah.
line. So that it's like the writers are like, how can we do something legendary and iconic, like with great power comes responsibility, and then the writers like, ooh, I got it.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
How can you not laugh at that? That's where I'm just like, yes, they went there. That is hilarious. That's so laughably terrible. And they double down. Like they just said it again in like the last shot. And I'm like, oh my god, you're really going in on this. Kudos to you. You're not backing down. You're not like shying away from this terrible ass quote. But yeah, that's one of those parts where I was just like literally laughing
Even
out
the
loud.
wordplay isn't that clever.
This movie is a treasure. I don't know. It's just um it is boring. It is bad, but I would definitely recommend to watch. It's like you got to experience this. Um, you got like you're gonna get. I feel like you're gonna get something out of it. Like you're gonna laugh unironically or ironically, I should say, um, at the bad writing, acting, at how just like I don't know. The whole premise of the film is he's uh like I dreamt that someone is gonna kill me. I must kill them. And it's like, dude, what the?
And
How?
also, like, when she went to go discover about her mother's past and what really happened, like, she leaves those three kids with Uncle Ben.
Mm-hmm.
It was Uncle Ben, right?
Yeah,
They're
it's
trying to
Uncle
make
Ben.
Uncle they trying to connect it all, but like, why would you leave it with Uncle Ben and a pregnant wife? It's just like they're not
It's not
like
his
he has
wife. It's
enough
his
on his plate.
sister-in-law.
Oh, sister-in-law. What I mean, I'm sorry. It just in and out of this whole. I'm sorry. I don't know. I just know like it's just like why would you leave these three kids with, with Uncle Ben? It's just like he has enough on his plate. Take him with you. You're going to see him like spider, this Amazon, tribe, this
Mm-hmm.
indigenous tribe of Spider-Men, if you will. I don't know. Like you're gonna go see them. It's just like yeah, I think they're better safe following you than you leaving them
To be
there. I don't know.
fair, she probably doesn't have money for. Oh no, but that one chick, she had money, so she could have bought their tickets. I don't know. It's you're asking too much of a script that's like barely there. That they just try to like capitalize on the Spider-Man
And I don't know. It's just like
universe.
also if you're suspected of abducting kids and you're driving around the same taxi around, I mean, you'd be pretty easy to spot and catch. It's just like,
Yeah,
I mean, nowhere through the. I mean, I get like I said, you know more about like the behind the scenes and you're a script supervisor, and I'm not sure like to be honest like what they do, but when somebody was reading the script was like, you think we should have a scene where she switches cars because it doesn't make sense that she's driving around the same car and they won't be able to locate her.
yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know. That's just me.
it's like, did she not have a car before, like her own
Yeah,
personal car? I mean, she did steal an ambulance towards the end. Like she finally is like, oh, okay, let's not take my car for whatever reason. She sees the ambulance there, like, all right, well, I already committed this fucking crime. Let's steal this one. And to that end, like at the end of the movie, is she not wanted anymore? She's in a hospital. They know where the captor, like where the criminal is. Clearly, it's like, all right, like she's wanted for beating cops because they don't know. I guess they didn't see Ezekiel for whatever reason. They didn't elaborate on that. They're like, oh, she's wanted. It's like, what, did they not see the guy crawling and with fewer words than that? Because for some reason Dakota couldn't fucking talk in this movie. Where she's like, I'm climbing. I digress. Yeah, so she's wanted.
I talk like that sometimes. So
okay, but you're not in a movie.
I relate. I
Yeah.
relate to Madam Web. It's a great movie.
You're not in a movie. You're an actual human that has a hard time processing ideas. This is a character that's been written, you know. Yeah, so yeah, she's wanted for beating up cops, stealing a taxi cab, crashing into a diner, stealing an ambulance, and I guess she could be fined for exploding a helicopter, killing Ezekiel because they don't know that he was gonna kill the girls. It's all like he said she said thing, but she walks away freely, and she can see better than she ever could before. In her words. The writing, dude, is so laughably funny. And the other scene that made me laugh that I also like wrote it down was she's in a hospital bed. This is at the end of the movie, and this, like, the only reason that this is there is to show or tell the audience that, like, she has, like, adopted these girls, I guess, like, as her own. So the nurse comes in like, "Are you family?" "Yes, they're mine." Like, what? That's a part
That's
where
how
I'm just like,
adopting work. You just the nurse asks you, and you just say yes.
yeah,
That's
and there was no follow up. She just like yes, they're mine. It's supposed to be like an uplifting moment, and in any other movie that was well written, it would be a moment that hit. But this is just like I'm literally like just like hollering, I'm laughing, I'm like this, like they thought they were onto something here. They're clearly not, and it's just like, yes, they're mine, and you just see them like whatever, and then the next scene, the doctor like doesn't follow up. She's just like walking out of the door. You see her walking out the door. Like, why was this here?
It's feasible.
Like,
It's feasible. I always
Like, yeah,
trust the
that works.
person with who's wanted for a kidnapping, assault on police officers.
Yeah.
Like, their words are always believable.
Again, I said this earlier, but that's expecting way too much from a movie that was written the way it was written. But yeah, that's again, I would. That's why I would recommend it, like, to other people to watch it with keeping in mind that it's a bad film. That it's not, and if they're bored, like, just shut it down. You don't have to like put yourself through like 2 hours of like torture, but it does have its few things where like laughable moments where it definitely wasn't intended for you to laugh at. Like the lines I just told you guys, and the fact that they just double down on like the whole when you take on responsibility, great power
will come to you.
come. To be fair, she did unlock her Super Saiyan Madam Web shit at the end when she
Is that
took
her
on.
like, to be honest, I don't know too much about Madam Web, but I know in the anime series she
That's
was
what
like,
I was
kinda
gonna
like
say.
Oracle
That's to
Spider-Man.
yeah. That's my the extent of my knowledge of Madam Web, which is again, who the hell is asking for a Madam Web movie? Like, okay, if you're gonna do
Madam
a
Web fans?
yeah,
know.
clearly they all went to go see it. Yeah, they're the ones that freaking saw it in theaters. This is why it was a big ass flop. I mean, but yeah, like no one's asking for a Madam Web movie. And even if no one's asking for it, I'm sure they could have done it a lot better. Not so fun fact. When they started writing this movie or like shooting it or whatever, they had it with the idea of having it set in Andrew Garfield or Tom Holland's world. Towards the end of it, clearly they decided to scrap that idea and to scrub any mentions of Spider-Man or like anything, because even when they were going to mention the baby's name, I was like, oh, it's Peter. Like they just like rewound back in time, and that's when she's just like, oh, we just did this already, and blah 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 blah. It's like, oh, okay, so you're like hinting around the idea that, oh, this is Peter Parker's mom and this is Ben Parker, but you're not really going all in. But Yeah. With all this being said, do you have any highlights for the movie? Any? Could you find any morsel of like, all right, well, I like this about the movie.
Oh, I should. Now that you mention, I do.
Okay.
Britney Spears' "Toxic" played in the background during the cafeteria.
Okay,
That
so
was pretty cool. I haven't
I'm
heard that song in
a
a while. It's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
I'm a big nerd, so you probably wouldn't have caught onto it, and I didn't catch onto it either because I don't know like release dates or anything. I did look into it.
Mhm.
This takes place in
Oh, because
2003.
I'm a jock.
No, no, you're just oh yeah, you're a
I'm
jock.
far
Okay,
from a jock. I'm
clearly,
far
yeah.
from.
No, so Britney Spears' "Toxic" was released in 2004, so they didn't even get that right. So in this universe, like
Oh, that was your highlight too?
no, it wasn't my highlight. I'm just bringing out this little
Okay.
fun fact
I was like,
that
okay, because I don't
like
know. I just know that it's a song that
so
I like
that
Britney Spears. Yeah, it's a
that
pretty cool
legit
song.
is your highlight that they
I could think of. To be honest, like I said, I was bored this whole movie, and I was wishing it to end, and just, I
okay.
mean, yeah.
That's fair. I did ask. It wasn't a
I didn't know that
movie that
question
you
was
did.
coming. And if you just like, okay, think of something, Daniel. Oh, toxic, and
Well, I
that's what I
mean,
say.
yeah, that's what stuck to your mind, and that's fair. It wasn't a movie. I asked you anything about the movie. It didn't have to be, like great. Like in your opinion, that was the highlight, and that's fine. For me, it was how the laughable quotes. Like clearly, I've been having a good time, like just laughing at it again with you, just because like it's like, oh come on, they really thought they were on something. They thought they were writing fire here or something.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Then
that
there was
is
also
my
that
highlight.
Toby Maguire moment when she was looking, she was trying to crawl the wall when she
Oh
thought she had
yeah,
powers, and
yeah,
like the Toby Maguire-ish moment, the
yeah,
Timu version, I
yeah,
guess, of
and
Toby Maguire.
yeah, and I was gonna ask you, have you tried climbing walls? Because like you don't know unless you try. That makes sense.
I tried. I tried.
As a kid,
I
I tried
definitely
to. Unfortunately, I have no spider
tried.
powers.